Hey guys, YJ here. I'm one of the owners and founders here at DFY Sales. In today's video, we're going to really talk about authority and how we've been able to help a lot of our clients that are in the high ticket space where they're business owners selling high ticket offers to their audience, really maximize this throughout their funnel. And in one of our other videos, we talked about trust and how to build that. Same concept today. We're going to run over like the methodology in which you can really build this out there at your funnel. And in my opinion, I think these are the two pillars for any successful high ticket funnel. If you can establish trust and authority in a really natural way throughout your funnel, then you're winning, especially in the high ticket space. It's really not about rapport as much. So let's talk about it. The first thing you have to think about in terms of is authority is all about balance. It's all about balance with intent. So it's a decision that you make in terms of how you want to balance things, right? It's really a push and a pull. It's a yin and a yang around concepts, right? So for example, it's a balance in terms of the information that you give at what stage in the funnel and by who, right? So you're being intentional about, hey, at this stage, I want to give them this information versus hiding this information. It's intent around the balance of who they have access to and when. They're not just going to get on a phone call with the CEO on call one, for example, right? So it's really about you working out that balance and matching it throughout your funnel in the most profitable way for you to ensure authority. So let's go into that concept more in terms of how a lot of the clients we've worked with have actually revamped their funnels at every stage with this concept in mind to maximize authority throughout the sales funnel and the sales process. Before I do this, I want to preface this, right? A good example, a good analogy for this is think of it like dating, right? You purposefully, if you find a really attractive person that you're attracted to and you want to start dating them, and you're in the initial phases of attraction, you're not just going to literally just like spam them with texts 10 times a day, even though actually this is naturally what a lot of us probably want to do. If we're obsessed with someone, we want to talk to them as much as possible, get in front of them as much as possible, but we're going to balance that and control it so that, we don't come off as needy, which is a form of authority. And when we do meet them, we want to give it our all. Right? It's a similar concept to that. So you have to be very intentful about this throughout your funnel because again, the funnel is an extension of your brand, and it's how a lot of them kind of judge who you are as a company, just the experience of them running through it, which will ultimately affect their purchase decision. So let's get into it. I have a funnel here. Again, this is a traditional funnel for a lot of high ticket offers, so it probably looks very similar for you. We have an Instagram DM, any sort of outbound funnel. I'm sure you have your own, whether it's webinars, whether it's you reaching out on like Facebook groups. Let's skip that for now, and we'll use a more traditional example, which is like inbound advertisements through Facebook, through Instagram, through Meta, through TikTok. And we're going to use this as a traditional funnel example. But again, everyone's funnel is a little different. This is why this is more of a general video, but happy to chat more in depth if you reach out, and we'll have a more one-on-one conversation on this. But let's talk about how this traditional funnel can really maximize that balance, that yin and yang at every stage, and really try to build authority as they go down the funnel, right? And that's what I've represented throughout this era, where the idea is as they advance in stages in your funnel and they engage with various resources and stakeholders, you're just building more and more authority in terms of your brand, right? Not just when they're about to close or when they're meeting your closer, right? You want to think about this from step number one, from the very initial opt-in. So let me give you an example. I won't go too in depth because this isn't a 1 hour long video. I won't waste your time with that. I'm going to go over like the high level concepts of it at every stage. And hopefully that's valuable for you. So at the opt-in, right? A good example of this is you want to set them in your frame off the bat, right? So I'm going to pick and choose the information I give them. What would be detrimental is if I gave them all the information off the bat before they even talk to any human, right? So if I gave them the price, if I gave them the value, if I gave them why we're different, yeah, that's gonna decrease the chances of them not showing up because or it's going to decrease the chances of them showing up and being unqualified, right? Where like they had no idea what they were even booking themselves into. But what that's going to increase the chance of is of them, thinking that maybe you don't have that many clients. Like you're giving them a lot of everything from A to Z. They can almost make their own decision at this point because they feel like they have all the information they need and they don't have to talk to anyone more in depth. They feel like your offering is pretty simple because they have a grasp of it just through all the infographics and the ads that you sent them. So you want to kind of play yin and yang, right? And you want to hide certain information so that they're incentivized to show up with an expert on your next call. And maybe even use this as an opportunity to set a frame of authority where they can give specific types of information. So an example of this type of information would be something like, oh, hey, I want you to prepare before our call with the setter, answers to a few of these questions, like what is your credit score? Or what is your process of evaluation, right? Because obviously as a seasoned investor, you have one, and that's the type of clientele that our setters deal with. So you can see I'm kind of setting the frame for the next step where immediately they're getting signifiers that, oh shit, this is an advanced funnel. Like these guys know what they're doing and they've done it before. And the next step is not about wasting time or talking to some like 17-year-old kid who's just trying to see if you have money and moving on to the closer. This next step is like a valuable piece where it's like the next guy will know who I am. He's going to understand me and he's going to grow me, right? So think about questions or things that you can ask or content you can give them that's higher level, right? So again, a good example of this is come prepared or send us an email beforehand, ideally, of your evaluation process and your decision process criteria. Boom. Immediately sets a frame. That terminology isn't even used, right? So that's one way you can do it right at the opt-in stage. And then once the call is scheduled and you have a setter call, another example of this at the setter level is you come in and you can actually hint on the concept. So you can train your setters to actually expand on that and press them and say, hey, did you come prepared with your evaluation process? And most of the time they're going to say no, right? Because they don't actually know what that is, or they've never actually done that before. And your setters here can actually set the frame now because they will be relying on the setter to guide them now in their evaluation, right? Or another example of this dynamic is like during the opt-in, you can say something like, let's say you're selling an Amazon offer. Come prepared with the key criteria for how you evaluate, how compliant a store is. And then during the setter call, a setter can actually ask them about it. They're going to say they're not exactly sure. They haven't done it before. And the setter is now in a frame where it's like, one, you didn't do your homework. I did. And two, I'm going to educate you right now. And it puts you in an amazing frame, right? So the setter can, at this stage, can immediately establish authority in your process because he's been set up and because he's going to use that setup to really further evaluate or further establish that frame and that authority. And then the closers, at that stage, once the setter passes them through, can go even more in depth, right? Because at this point, they have a lot more information. They've seen your brand. They've looked up your website. They've heard about the Amazon offering or whatever store, whatever offer you sell a bit more in depth with your setters. And now you can start introducing more foreign concepts that won't confuse them, right? Like, for example, your setters can start, or your closers can start introducing concepts like dynamic pricing models, right? Complex algorithms to show up on the first page, right? And you watching this video probably have no idea what that even means. But if you've established enough trust and authority naturally throughout this process, your closer now has the authority to say these things, and they will trust what you're saying, and actually now be in the position of more of a student who is trying to learn and understand what you mean by dynamic pricing. And it's going to put your closer in a much more advantageous position to not only close these guys at a higher clip, but maybe even upsell them because their frame is so much higher than theirs. They've established that they know more, that they know their shit, that this company probably knows their shit, and that you're basically inferior to me in terms of knowledge and how prepared you are. And that is so, so key in selling any sort of high ticket offer on top of just trust. I hope that was helpful. That was just a snippet of that. I could go a lot more in depth, trust me, because we worked with a lot of clients on this. And the reality is every offer is unique, and I use a lot of generalizations there. I might be totally wrong for some offers, but for the most part, this is a really good concept. Happy to do more audits. Like if you do want to chat a bit further, more one-on-one, our company does offer free audits. Yeah, definitely check out our YouTube as well for more content, but just DM us if you want to chat further.